An Art of Performance. Casper pressed his face up against the car's window. The art theater was having street day, and he loved it. He watched a puppeteer show off her skills to passers-by on the sidewalk. A man was next to her, pretending to pull a heavy load. The whole block was full of performers, dancers, jugglers, contortionists, and masked actors put on a free show for anyone who desired to watch. His mother was unimpressed. She honked her horn at a young juggler as he ran out into the street to retrieve one of his pins. He was no older than 10, but Colleen didn't care. "Can we stop this time?" Casper said. "I want to watch them." Colleen swerved around the wayward juggler and sped up. "No, they aren't doing anything worth watching." The mime and masked actor stopped what they were doing. They stared at Casper as he watched them through the glass. The mime beckoned for him. "They're watching me," he said. Colleen sighed. "I bet they are." Casper was silent the rest of the evening. He put himself to bed and slept with the door closed. Colleen retired to her own room to talk to her sister on the phone. "Casper is awesome," she said. "I couldn't have asked for a better kid." The next morning, Colleen woke up well rested and at peace. She looked at the clock and jumped up. It was Saturday. She had the whole day planned out. The first thing on her list of things to do was to take Casper to his father. She hurried down the hall to his room. It was empty. His bed was made with a painted mask left in the center. "Casper?" Colleen yelled. "Are you hiding?" She checked in his closet, under the bed, in both bathrooms, in her office. There was no Casper downstairs or outside. His bicycle was still in the garage. Colleen ran screaming to every neighbor on their street, but no Casper was found. When the police arrived, Colleen was an unstable mess. The officer took the mask from her and said, "This is from the art theater. Is your son a performer?" Colleen fetched her car keys and excused herself. She drove to the theater without telling the officer where she was going. On any other Saturday morning, the theater door would be wide open, with an endless stream of bodies going in and out. On this Saturday, it was closed. Colleen tried the side doors, the rear emergency exit, and even a window. She pounded on the front door, calling for her son. "Casper? Casper, are you in there?" The door creaked open, but only just enough for a small body to squeeze in sideways. Colleen ran inside, in the dark, with no idea where to turn or whether or not there were stairs. She'd never been inside, even though Casper asked to every time they passed by the building. Colleen eventually saw light. It was faint, but she followed it and ended her mindless running in the seating area. The one dim light came from the main stage. A single flashlight had been left on the floor, in front of the closed curtains. "Casper?" Colleen called out. "It's Mommy. Are you here?" The curtains opened. Colleen could hardly believe her eyes. The stage had been set up to resemble Casper's nursery. Two masked actors came onto the stage, a man holding a screaming baby and a woman. The man shushed and rocked the baby while the woman took pictures of him, then of herself. "Can you put the camera down and do something?" the masked man said. "Take him." He tried to give the baby to her, but she wouldn't take him. "You got him," the actress said and walked off stage. The curtains closed and reopened. Colleen watched with her mouth agape. The nursery was gone, replaced with a basic family living room. A baby boy waddled across the floor while the masked actress was on the phone and paying him no mind. The baby had a tiny fork in his pudgy little hand. Just before he stuck it into an electrical outlet, The masked man came running and scooped him up. Get off the phone, he yelled. He almost killed himself. Colleen's knees went weak. She fell to the floor but never looked away. The curtains closed and reopened several more times, showing the actress being a horrible mother. All the lights came on. Suddenly, the theater filled with children, all of the same height, build, and hair color. They wore black clothes and white gloves, like the mime. Colleen didn't move. Even if she did stand, the crowd around her wouldn't allow her to leave. One last time the curtains opened. The mime stood in the stage center, holding a solid black mask next to his white painted face. He said nothing. The actress came out with a chair. She sat down and pretended to be driving a car. Can we stop this time? The echoing voice of Casper rang out. I want to watch them. The actress turned her imaginary steering wheel. No, they aren't doing anything worth watching. The actress looked directly at Colleen and said, Casper is awesome. I couldn't have asked for a better kid. He's awesome. He's which one? You pick, you keep. Colleen was pulled to her feet forcefully by the massed horde of children. There were hundreds of them, and no way to differentiate one from another. She knew that they wouldn't speak or do anything to make things easy for her. You pick, you keep, the actress repeated. Pick. Colleen waded through the little mimes. Casper is awesome, Colleen said. Do I deserve him? She left without choosing. Not one tear fell the entire drive home. In case the police asked, she'd already come up with a story about where she went and why. Colleen's resolve fell to pieces when she spotted a familiar car in the driveway and Casper riding his bike on the lawn. The officer was still there, talking to a man in all black. Colleen stumbled out of her car and waited for the questions and accusations. Casper waved at her, but he didn't get off his bike. Colleen approached the officer and the man in black. Hey, Dad, Casper said, can I get a bigger bike for my birthday? Casper's father glared at Colleen. You sure can, buddy. The officer left them to respond to his radio. Brennan, Colleen said, I know this looks bad, but Brennan held his hand up and turned away from Colleen, but nothing. He called me this morning saying you were gone. Just left him in the house alone. Brennan had already packed 3 suitcases and 2 duffel bags for Casper. Time to go, buddy, Brennan said. Casper grabbed the duffels and got in his father's car without a hug or a kiss to offer Colleen. She stood there and watched Brennan take their son away. Casper looked at her through the rear window. He held up a painted black mask next to his own face. Did you enjoy this story? An Art of Performance? I hope so. There are more to come, so please come back.